Hello, my class. This is the second part of Chapter 2. The reason that I separate Chapter 1 into two sections is because 1.3 and 1.4 are very essential for economics learning. Both of them are very fundamental concepts. One is opportunity cost, one is PPC. So let's go to the learning objectives first. We are going to learn how to define opportunity cost and how to analyze. For PPC, we are going to learn what is PPC, the meaning of points on, under, and beyond the PPC, movements and shifts in a PPC. That is basically what we are going to learn within the next half an hour. Okay, so let's get started. So first, we are going to go through the definition of opportunity cost. This is very important. I hope you can recite it. The definition of opportunity cost is very important. I hope all of you can recite it. The definition is the next best alternative foregone. Very important. So alternative here means choice, and foregone means given up. So it is essentially what you give up for choosing the other one. Let's say for the lunch, you can buy a hamburger or a fried chicken. Say chicken. But the thing is, you have limited money. You don't have unlimited money. You're not a billionaire. So you cannot choose both. You can only choose one of them. Your choice is the hamburger. So the next best alternative forgone. So the choice you give up and the best choice. Okay, the best choice you give up. You can eat nothing actually, but the best thing you give up is chicken. It's fried chicken. Okay, the best thing you give up is this. So in this example, the opportunity cost of choosing hamburger is eating chicken. Okay. Now we are going to learn how to analyze opportunity cost in real context. There are a few things we need to do. The first thing is we need to identify the opportunity cost of what? So we say in our early example, we are learning about the opportunity cost of eating the hamburger. We are finding the objective. That's the first thing we need to do. The second thing we need to do is identify the scarce resources. We need to find out what resources are scarce, or maybe FOP, factors of production, which factors of production are scarce. Let's say in our early example, the resources that are rare is actually money. You have very limited money, so you cannot choose both. And the third thing is, what can we do instead to spend that piece of scarce resource? So in our early example, the scarce resource is money. So when we are thinking about the opportunity cost, we are actually thinking about what we can do instead to spend that piece of money. We can actually buy fried chicken, right? We can actually use that scarce resource, which is money, to buy fried chicken. And if that is the best choice, the best alternative we can do, that will be the opportunity cost. Okay? I have made my points clear. I have prepared some exercises for you after this lesson. And if you think you need some practice, you can check these videos. And now we are continuing to learn more about projection possibility curve. It is very important. It is the first economic model we learned. Very important. So the first thing, of course, is to learn about the definition. So PPC shows all the shows the maximum, okay, the maximum output of all possible combination of two products or services with existing resources and technologies. In fact, one thing that we should reach an agreement is that economic models often has a large number of assumptions. Down to the earth, it is only a mathematics model, so you are not expecting it to be very realistic. PPC has a very considerable amount of assumptions. You can find it in this simple definition. You can take a few minutes to identify them, okay? So 4 key assumptions is we have thick. Okay, let me change the color of my pen first. Maybe this one. Let me check. So the first one is resources. I don't know whether you notice that. Resources. So resources are fixed. That means you have a fixed amount of factors of production. You have fixed labor, you have fixed capital, you have fixed enterprise, and you have fixed land. But we all know that resources or factors of production are changing every day. Okay? The second thing is fixed technologies. With the fast pace of the world, technology is advancing every day. We have now AI, self-driving car, all sort of things. They are changing and influencing the whole production. So this is the second assumption. Very huge assumption. The third assumption is full employment of resources. So it assumes full employment of resources. It means that you use every tiny resource you can use. You use every time, you exploit every single worker you can hire. Use everything you can use, which is not possible in real life. You cannot fully use everything. The last thing is only 2 products. How can it possible that there are only 2 products, bro? we know that there are almost 1,000 or million or billion products in the world. So we all know that there are actually four assumptions. Okay, 4 assumptions. Very important. So this is not very very realistic anyway. But I don't expect you to understand it right now. Maybe let me tell you how to understand it. Maybe until now you don't really understand what this graph means. You only read the definition and you cannot relate it to the graph on the left hand. Let me tell you what it means. Consumer goods and capital goods. I assume you know that, but I will give you a definition right now. Consumer goods, okay. Consumer goods, maybe we learned last time. It is something for entertainment, like television, like PS5, all sort of things. Therefore, entertainment or recreation, that sort of things. And capital goods is very different. It is something using during the production, like a computer, like a machine. They are capital goods, and they are clearly two different type of product. So, and they are often the thing we use in the production possibility curve, because they mainly include all the products in the economics. I mean, mainly in the, so they are two very huge category. Let me think. Let me choose some random point on this. Then, like this point. See A. So if you can read the graph, you know that in the A point, we have a very large amount of consumer goods, but there are capital goods. That's scary. It means that you use all your resource to produce consumer goods. And it is opposite in point B. You use all the resource to produce capital goods, but zero consumer goods. So normally it's something like C. So in the C, we know that you produce both consumer goods and capital goods. So we can actually move these points, and it has different amount of the goods you produce. Can we, so in the definition, we know this is a maximum. Can we put the point here? No, actually we can't. Can we put the point here? Yes, we can, because it is in the curve. So the next thing is, we are going to learn about the meaning of different points in this plane. Okay? Say we have actually 3 positions. In the curve, so X, on the curve, and outside the curve. So in the curve, let's say point X, it actually means in efficient use of resources. Because we are not fully use all the thing we can use. The maximum is on the curve. We can actually like move the X to here, and we increase this amount of consumer goods. We can do that, but due to some reason, we cannot do that. And you know what? In real life, the real thing is most point is inefficient. Maybe the employers isn't working that hard. Maybe there is something weather condition. Maybe there are a huge rate of unemployment. People cannot find their jobs. Overpopulation, weather conditions. Maybe you just don't want to work and want to go to the cinema. Those can be the reasons. So most points are in the curve. What about point Y? So point Y actually means efficient, actually maximum. efficiency of resources. Use everything you can use. It's a maximum. You cannot work one more. You cannot work one more. Maximum, okay? You use all the resources. Every man, every working age, workable man, you use. Everything you can use. Everything you know you can use, you use. That's on the curve, okay? What about D? So you know, in the Y, at the Y point, you use everything. So of course, D point is something, a projection you cannot reach. So Z stands for currently unattainable. Okay? Currently unattainable point. Is that clear? It is currently unattainable. So we finish this first thing, and we are going to know the change in projection possibility curve. How can this show the change? Okay, let me show you. What about point A change to point B? What does this mean? You're thinking about. What does this mean? So A and B are both on the projection possibility curve, so that means they are both a maximum efficiency. But they are different. So early A, you only produce. Let's say, let's make a table. Capital, consumer. Early in the A point, you only make A1, and consumer only produce A2 product. But at the point B, you actually increase the production in the capital goods. You increase this more, you increase the production of capital goods. But everything has its cost. In economics, we call it opportunity cost. You produce some more capital goods. You use some more resource. You have to pay for it. See? So you see the projection of consumer goods decrease. It decreased. See, later B, the capital goods actually increased by A1, B1, but the consumer goods decreased by AR, A2, B2. That's a cost. And you know what? Actually, A2, B2 is called the opportunity cost of increasing the production of capital goods by A1, B1. That's called the opportunity cost in PPC. One thing particular I think you should notice, it is a fun fact. We draw some same scale point in capital goods. Let's think about a random country. He is thinking about increasing the production of capital goods. What do you find? So when you are moving from point 1 to point B, the opportunity cost is this. You give up this amount of consumer goods. You can produce this amount, but now you can only produce this amount, this number of production. So you're giving up this amount of consumer goods. And when you're moving 2 to 3, you're giving up this amount. 3 to 4, this amount. 4 to 5, this amount. And 6, maybe even larger. If you're careful enough, you might notice that the opportunity cost is actually increasing while you're trying to produce only one type of good. The opportunity cost is increasing. It is something you should have in your mind when you're trying to shift one tiny resource. Let's say it is becoming just harder. It is becoming harder and harder. So maybe you now understand the relationship between PPC and the opportunity cost. And we have very clear way to show the opportunity cost in a PPC curve. That's why PPC is a very successful economic model. You see, you're producing, increasing this amount, and the opportunity cost is very clear. It's so clear. And now we are going to learn about the shift of PPC curve. Okay, but there are one more thing we haven't learned, we haven't told you. So this thing, movement from A to B, it is actually called the movement around the PPC. Movement around the PPC. Okay. If I have given you a very abstract example, it shows the resources are being relocated. Right, that's quite clear. You move from A to B, you increase the amount, you increase the resources used to produce capital goods. So you have more capital goods. But the resources used to produce consumer goods are partly transferred. So the production have to decrease. So resources are being relocated. Quite clear, right? Quite clear. It can also show the opportunity cost. Okay, clear, very clear. And now we are going to learn about the shift of production possibility curve. What does that mean? As I said before, the world is changing. Every day we have new technology, we have new resources. Maybe America find more oil. The curve has to change. Like, we can produce more. In the primitive era, maybe we can produce zero goods, but now we can produce this more. And in future, we are producing even more. So the curve will shift. It will shift. So in the history, the curve will shift outwards, shift to the outside mainly. But during some problems, the curve might shift inwards. Okay, so the curve can shift inward, have both opportunities. It can shift outward, it can shift inward. When it shifts outward, it means what? It means the production capacity is increasing. It means the maximum amount of output of an economy is increasing. You can produce more, and when it shifts to inward, of course it means the production capacity is decreasing. Okay, so that's for this point. When it is moving outwards, it means you can produce even more. It can move to this, you can produce even more. But when the curve shifts inside, you cannot even produce this amount of consumer goods and capital goods because it is outside the curve. Okay, so let's review the lesson. We learned quite a lot. The first is we learn about opportunity cost. We learn about the definition. The next alternative, the next best alternative for a gun. We learn about how to analyze. We have 3 steps. Identify the objective, identify what resources are scarce, and analyze what else we can do with that money, with that sort of resource. Still thing. And we learn about production possibility curve, which is very important. Of course, I have prepared a little bit exercise for you. Exercise is very important. We learn about the definition. We know that we have a lot of assumptions. We learn about we have different points. They have different meaning. X, Y, D. They stand for different meaning. And we learn about the movement along the PPC curve. And this is related to opportunity cost. We can show opportunity cost in the graph. And it is actually increasing to some extent. We learn about the shift of PPC. It can shift outwards, it can shift inwards. So it means that you can produce more or you can produce less. That's the end of our lesson. See you next.